Hello and welcome to Love Anything Art. Today I'll show you how I made these cute earrings and necklace set. First I'll begin with some white clay. You can use any brand that you want. I have made it into a square shape. I feel like this makes it easier to roll it out into a square shape. Usually I put it in a ball and then roll it out, but you get more of a circular shape that way. And I kind of want a square shape. So I'll just condition it a little bit and then use my acrylic roller to roll it out. And I've made it about this thick. And you'll see that it has a little bit of hairs in there and such, because that's what happens when you use white clay. It collects all little hairs. So what I'm going to do is just clean this up a little bit. And to do that, I'll just use some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. And then just dip it in there and just start rubbing it over the surface of the clay. And you kind of have to work at it a little bit sometimes to get some of those really stuck on hairs. But just keep working and you'll get them all removed. Next, I'm going to place my clay on a piece of paper just to make it easier to work with. And again, I'll take some white clay. You can use any brand of clay. I'm going to cut away a piece and then just start rolling it up and conditioning it, and then roll it out into a snake. And you do kind of want it to be fairly thick still, and that is mine. Set that aside, and then I'm going to look through my beautiful scraps that I have and find some scraps that I want to work with. I do want to pick out some colors that look good together, but also kind of contrast and are different colors. So green and orange, and maybe even some blacks in there, and pinks and such. And these are the colors and scraps that I have chosen to work with. They are different colors and contrasting and very random, but I'll just start chopping them up, and I'm going to leave them rather thick pieces so that the colors kind of keep their consistency and don't really meld a whole lot together, so that the different colors do show through. And now I'm going to just start placing them all together, just kind of breaking them up so that they're not in huge clumps in one color. Just start smushing it kind of together with your hands and get it into a square-like shape. Once I've worked it kind of into that, I will use my acrylic roller to gently roll it out a little bit. And be sure to flip it over and get both sides. And you do want to make sure that your scrap clay is as wide as your little tube of clay that you rolled out. So just cut it down to the same size as that tube-shaped clay. And then just gently start rolling it up. You want to make sure that you cover all of the white clay inside of there. And then you can cut away the excess. Gently press all that together and give it a nice gentle roll to get everything connected. And I'll set that aside for a moment, and I'll roll out some more white clay. If this one gets dirty, it's okay. You won't be able to really see this clay. And you do want this one to be really thin and the same length as your rolled out scrap clay. So just cut it down to size. And then just fold it up and over and completely cover that scrap clay. Cut away all the excess and then make sure it is all covered, that scrap clay underneath. And then give it a nice gentle roll. Next, take the rest of that scrap clay that you cut away earlier and kind of roll it out until it's pretty thin, just about as thin as that last sheet of white clay that we made. And again, make sure that is as long as your tube of clay. You can cut away all the excess. And then start rolling it. And once you have it to the thickness that you like, just go ahead and cut off a little bit of that end piece to see the beautifulness that is inside. You can see those different colors showing through. And keep those scrappies. Begin slicing off several pieces. Once you have enough of that size, just take your tube of clay and gently roll it to make it a little bit smaller and thinner. Then cut off the messy, wonky ends. Then start slicing off some sheets of clay. And you'll keep doing this until you have varying sizes of clay. Then I'm going to begin placing on my little circles of clay onto the white clay I rolled out in the beginning of the video. Just randomly place them all around there. I have them spaced out pretty good and I've used all of my pieces. Go ahead and give it a nice gentle pat and then also gently roll with your acrylic roller over the top. Not necessarily to flatten, but just to connect and join everything together. You'll see that it's still raised on there. You can also flatten it all the way if that is what you want to do. Next, I'm going to use some chalk pastels. These are the pretty vibrant colors that I have chosen. And with each of those, I will just use my tissue blade and begin shaving off a nice pile of each of them. Being sure to keep the piles separate so that the colors stay separate. And then I'm going to use a small little paintbrush that's dry and just take some of that chalk pastel and begin rubbing it over the surface of the white clay, trying my best not to get it on all the little circle pieces. Just keep working in all of your colors and overlapping a little bit too, and you'll get varying colors and shades of your colors. Already it looks very pretty and vibrant. And if you did get any of the chalk pastels on your little circular pieces, just use a little bit of the rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. You can go ahead and wipe away with the dry side of the Q-tip. And this should clean it up pretty good. I'm going to give it a little bit of flair by taking some of my circle cutters, using different sizes, and putting circular pattern shapes in between all of the little circles of clay on there. And I'm not pressing all the way through, just making it so that there is an indentation in there, and it pulls up some of that white clay underneath, and it cuts through that chalk pastel that I put down. And I'm going to go ahead and fill up all of that negative space. And this is it when I am done. From this, you can make whatever you want. I'm going to make a necklace and some earrings. So I'm going to take some of my circle cutters and begin finding a spot on there that I like where I want to cut it out. You'll need a large cutter and a smaller cutter to fit inside. Just kind of find out where you want your pattern to be. And once you've gotten it situated, just go ahead and use your very large cutter to cut out a circle. And then I'm going to place the large circle on the outside. I feel like this helps me make a better cut on the inside with the smaller circle cutter, and helps me line it up a little bit. Once I have it where I want it, I can remove that large circle cutter and then just press down with my smaller circle cutter. And then inside that smaller circle, I'm going to cut out an even smaller circle. Got to use up all of that clay, you know. And then I'm going to start joining all of my pieces together. And I'm just trying to decide where exactly I want to cut out. And once I figure that out, I'll cut out a little piece. And then I'm going to take the same size as this cutter that I cut out, which is right here, and I'm going to place it in there in its place. Basically, I'm going to kind of do that with the entire necklace, working my way from big cutters to small cutters. And to get the two to stick together, just use a little bit of bacon bond, and that will join the clay together and give it a nice bond. And this is kind of the fun part. You just start cutting and placing in your circles. It's kind of therapeutic. Pop in an old podcast and listen to that while you just kind of do your thing. So again, I'm going to cut out some more shapes and then just kind of continue the cycle. Cutting out shapes, large circle with the smaller circle in the middle, and then connecting those to all of my other circles. Once I'm done, on each end of my necklace, which I will show you in just a moment, I'm going to place a whole piece of clay with no hole in the middle. Got one on each side, and then to connect it to the string for the necklace, I do need to put in this stick pin. And I'm going to make sure that each side is kind of even in how I'm placing the stick pin inside so that it hangs correctly when I am hanging my necklace on. Once I have that in there and where I kind of want it, it looks even, I'm going to take a really small stick pin and connect it to the bottom of the whole circle. Just get it to stick inside of there. And the other end I'm going to bury into the clay that it connects to. But you do want to make sure that your stick pin does not pop out the bottom of that other clay, which that one's pretty close, so I'm going to need to go ahead and push that in just a little bit more. And there you go. It won't pop out the bottom. I'm going to use a little bit of bacon bond to connect the two pieces together to get it a better bond for sticking so that it does not break. Just use a generous amount. Go ahead and connect that to the other piece of clay. And I will leave that in the whole time I'm baking it and while I'm assembling and resining it too. And voila, that is my necklace and all my circle pieces. And I made an earring set also to go with it, which is basically just two circles connected together. And then I'll have a little small circle there at the top. And just want to briefly show you how I make my eye hooks by wrapping it around my wire tool here and bending it and forming it into that eye hook that we all know so well when we make our earrings. And then bend it backwards. And then bend it back to close up that loop. And then you can just play with it and form it and get it to how you want it to look. And I'm just going to use this to flatten it all together. Make sure it's nice and sturdy and flat. And then just go ahead and cut off the excess. And I've made a second one too. Now I'm going to connect the two hooks together just by opening the one up, placing in the other one, and closing up that eye hook. Can be kind of tricky there. Once you got that closed, just go ahead and chop off that excess right there. And now you'll just want to connect that to your earring. I'm going to go ahead and pre-poke the eye hook hole. I find that to be easiest. Place in the eye hook on one end, and then place in the eye hook on the other end. And you'll just bake it like that, so you'll have the holes in there. And I did go ahead and take a little bit of the sandpaper and sand away some of the imperfections in the clay. Totally optional. And for the back, since it's very messy, I'm going to go ahead and roll out some beautiful pink clay. I'm going to be using some of this dusty rose color. I use it quite a bit in my videos. I find the color to be beautiful. Just chop away a good section of that and then just start conditioning and rolling it out. And you can make it as thin or as thick as you would like. This will just cover up that backing on your necklace and your earrings, and it'll also give you a nice sturdiness to the earrings and necklace. And I do need it to be as big as the necklace, and I did not cut off enough clay. So I cut off some more, rolled it out, and it is the size of my necklace and earrings. Got my earrings on there, cut those away, put those aside for now. And then I will just use my X-Acto knife and just start tracing out around the edge of the necklace. And I do have it on a piece of paper, so it will be easy to move. Be sure to get the inside circles too. Although you could leave the pink inside of the circles, that might add a little something to your piece of jewelry. But I'm going to go ahead and remove away all the excess pink. And then just peel that gently back. Take some Bacon Bond and give it a nice good slathering of it to get the dry clay to connect to the wet clay so that I can rebake it and they will be joined together forever. And now that my pieces are all done, I'm going to pop that in the oven and give it a nice bake. Then I'm going to glue in all of my little eye hooks. And then of course, glue on the backings to my earrings. I'm using little studs. And this is the necklace I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and cut off 2 little snippets here at the bottom where they touch the necklace. Just get rid of that section there in the middle. Next, I'm going to put on a large jump ring on both sides. And here comes the nice tricky part with the necklace that I cut away. I'm going to place on a crimp bead, if I can get it through the little wires here. It's really cloth, so it's kind of fraying a little bit. It was a little bit tricky, but I did get it on there, and you can cut all that away in a minute. But you want to bend it back because you're going to have to put another one through there. And I did do this off screen because it did take me about 2 minutes to get this through here, but I did manage to do it. It did not get the best of me, no siree. Go ahead and get that through there. And then with the other 2 strings, I will take this mesh kind of little string that came on here and wrap it around the string like the other one. And if I can get it through the crimp bead, and then crimp the bead on there, and then put on your bead cap cover there to cover up that messy crimp bead. And you'll do that to the other side too. Then put both of those onto your jump ring. I did that to both sides, and now I am ready to resin. I'm going to resin the front, the back, and the sides of my earrings and my necklace. Podcast time. I'm going to listen to my podcast while I do some resining. One of my favorite things. And it is done. That was a long video. This is my longest video. I had a lot of fun making this, and it kind of reminds me of the Care Bears, so you'll have to let me know if you make it to this point in the video, if you think it looks like the Care Bears too. And then of course, I made the earrings, and they are done. Thank you so much for watching, and if you watched to this point, you are the best. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!